What's up, everybody? This is Ambro with AMBG, and today we're going to be talking about Days Gone. Now, the story that we're talking about in particular is a quote that came out from one of the writers for Days Gone, and it's a little bit of a controversial statement, but I wanted to talk about it with you guys. I was going to put this video out last night, but I wanted to sleep on it and see if my feelings or opinions on the matter had changed. If you liked the video, remember to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to support the channel further, hit that subscribe button. Now, the quote came out of an interview on David Jaffe's YouTube channel. If you don't know David Jaffe, he's one of the developers for the God of War series. So again, I'm going to read out the entire quote from John so that it is not taken out of context. I've been seeing a lot of articles and different opinions already of people twisting the story or cherry-picking different statements out of the quote in order to spin their own narrative. I don't want to do that. I want to read the entire quote to you, and then we can just talk about it. I'm going to talk about both sides of the coin, and then I'll tell you where I stand on the matter. So John Garvin was asked by David Jaffe if the game's debut on Sony's PlayStation Plus subscription service had sparked new interest in the title. And here's the quote, start quote, "I do have an opinion on something that your audience may find of interest, and it might piss some of them off. If you love a game, buy it at effing full price. I can't tell you how many times I've seen gamers say, yeah, I got that on sale. I got it through PS Plus, whatever. Don't complain if a game doesn't get a sequel if it wasn't supported at launch. It's like God of War got whatever number millions of sales at launch, and you know, Days Gone didn't. Just speaking for me personally as a developer, I don't work for Sony. I don't know what the numbers are. I can tell you that when we were doing Siphon Filter, Dark Mirror, we got so effed on Dark Mirror because piracy was a thing, and Sony wasn't really caught up on what piracy was doing to sales. And we would show them torrents. Torrent site had 200,000 copies of Dark Mirror being downloaded. If I remember it right, the numbers could be wrong, but regardless, I was pissed about it then. I was like, this is money out of my pocket. So I think the uptick in engagement with the game is not as important as, did you buy the game at full price? Because if you did, then that's supporting the developers directly. Now, the knee-jerk reaction out of me is, where does this guy get off? But then you look into it a little bit differently, and I think there's some nuances to what he's trying to say here. I think the one thing that you really have to keep in mind is that these developers, the writers, the entire teams that create these games work tirelessly. In fact, later on in the interview, John Garvin goes on to say how much he loves crunch. He actually enjoys the crunch, but it was 6 long years of development to make this game that probably didn't meet their sales expectations. So I get that side of it. But on the other end of the spectrum, for him to say, don't complain if a game doesn't get a sequel if it wasn't supported at launch, I don't think that this is a fair comparison, to be honest. He's talking about God of War, one of the mascots and faces of the entire PlayStation brand. It is an established franchise for Sony. It has been around for 16 years, and it was polished at launch. Days Gone, if you recall, was very, very buggy at launch, which absolutely affected the review scores for it. If you've actually been lucky enough to play the game, it's a good game. It's not anything game-changing or paradigm-shifting, but it's a good game. It's a good open-world experience with absolutely phenomenal graphics and atmosphere. Again, it's nothing crazy. It's nothing that's going to knock your socks off, but it is a good first-party release for Sony and the PlayStation. But for them to compare it to a game that has an established fan base, comparing it to a new IP, it's apples to oranges in my opinion. Not to mention that this game came out at a time when people were starting to get really sick of the open world game design. We were at the end of a console generation, open worlds had frankly flooded the market throughout the entirety of the generation, and people were sick of it. Yes, open world zombie game, that is something that we haven't seen in a while, but still, the idea of another open world game being released didn't exactly appeal to too many people. So I'm trying to understand his side as much as possible because I do think that we as gamers have very skewed opinions on games because we don't understand what goes into the development. I also think that it was unfair of Garvin to assume that everyone can afford to pay full price for these games. Regardless if we were in lockdown or not everyone can afford to pay full price for games. In fact, a lot of people rely on services like Game Pass now for Xbox, or they wait for games to come to PS Plus so that they can play the games. And if you go outside of the United States, where frankly exchange rates are screwing gamers, this applies even more so to them. In my honest opinion, what Garvin is saying, it kind of just comes off as a little bit tone deaf. Like, yeah, I understand the struggle of being a developer in today's day and age, especially with the way the media can berate and tear down a developer with words. But also, there are so many other factors. He absolutely could have worded this a little bit better. He could have softened the blow of the point he was trying to get across. I personally don't think that this is a good look for Days Gone as a franchise. And what's sad is that John Garvin doesn't even work for Ben Studios anymore. But because it's tied to Days Gone, because it's tied now to the PlayStation brand, a lot of biased fans are now going to take advantage of this quote and spin it for their own narrative. Adding on top of this, now the fact that Days Gone is actually coming to PC next month is also stirring up the gaming community. There are way too many fanboys trying to take this PC port and spinning it into a negative light. Let's just state a fact. This game has hit the end of its sales life cycle. By bringing it to PC, more people get to enjoy a really good game. I don't see how that's a bad thing. Plus, it's coming with some graphical enhancements, and I do understand where some people that only own a PlayStation can be a little bit upset about this. Yes, the game is running at 60 FPS on the PS5 now, but now there are features that are exclusive only to the PC version, with no announcements for it to come to PlayStation 5. Enhancements including ultra-wide support, an unlocked frame rate, the hordes of the freakers in the game can go up to 500 in size, environmental details, foliage draw distances, and now there's a photo mode that now features a super resolution option. At the end of the day, is this story really going to change that much? No, I don't think so. This story is also following up to the fact that Days Gone 2 will now not receive that sequel, which is obviously a part of the quote that we discussed. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, remember to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to support the channel further, hit that subscribe button. I'll catch you next time.